I couldn't even tell you how long people have been asking me to do a Minecraft-focused episode on this channel. I mean, I just recently rewatched my old collab with the box office artist from over a year ago, and in that episode I mentioned that people had been asking me for a while to do one. And besides using Steve in my recent Power Rangers episode, I've still done basically no Minecraft stuff on this channel. So today's video is long overdue, but it's finally here. I'm gonna start off with something fairly simple and take some hostile Minecraft mobs and flesh them out into fantasy-style monsters to fit into the universe of my dragon videos and the Beast Chronicler and stuff like that. I think this idea might have legs for a few episodes, but let's start with this for now. So without further ado, Minecraft Monsters episode. Let's go. Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. In my ever-continuing search to discover all I can about the dragons, beasts, and creatures of this world, I'd long heard tales of a mysterious set of isles where live a colony of miners who build incredible structures from the spoils of their environment, but who simultaneously must fend off their own unique breeds of monsters that only exist on these islands. Finally, after years of questioning those who had allegedly visited these lands, I was finally able to charter a boat to go and visit for myself, to see these creatures and these people with my own eyes. It was a 3-day journey by boat, and when I arrived, surprisingly, the people were very welcoming, and there were far more of them than I ever could have imagined. And while I could certainly go into extensive detail about their ways of life and the incredible towers, castles, and villages they've crafted, I'll avoid digressing and step right into an analysis of the first creature unique to these islands that I was able to witness, the jutting sea guard. This species of vicious fish stretches to about the length of a full-grown human. It has a green, scaly hide and a set of 3-foot-long jutting spikes that can stab out of it like a pufferfish to impale prey or opponents. The creatures tend to reside near sunken temples or monuments, where they act almost like guards to these once sacred places, hence their names. They can be quite hostile towards any islanders who make their way near their waters, and while they may not be as monstrous or beastly as, say, a riptide ocean drake or a calamitous squid, if you come across a few in a pack, you could very likely meet a quick and violent end. While I wasn't able to spot one in my time on the islands, the locals also told me of a larger breed of these creatures, with a paler body, who's even more vicious than the fish that I saw. I hope to come back again at some point and witness one of these, but for the time being, I'm quite satisfied with the range of creatures that I was able to observe. I'll go into details of more creatures in a moment. Now, if you end up liking the way that I did the environments and backgrounds in this episode, you can thank Cohen Calmer for that, the godfather of the Popcross community Discord, which, by the way, recently passed 10,000 members. Thanks to everyone in it and all the awesome work of the moderators. But anyway, I really love all the art in this episode, and I think a large part of the reason why is because I did just put a bit more time and effort into the environments and backgrounds. As I'm one to do, I took a course on Skillshare that just helped me flesh out my ideas of how to do environments a little bit more. But really all I changed for my new process for environments is just, spending a little bit more time on them. But even with that, it wasn't that much more time. Like, this first drawing only took 2 hours, whereas lately my drawings usually average around 3.5 hours. And I think this is one of my favorite finished drawings I've done on the channel in ages. But yeah, thanks for the push, Cohen, and I hope you all like the first creature in our Minecraft Monsters episode. Here it is. The next creature I witnessed was one that apparently is far more rare to see, and only comes out when enough people on the islands have been deprived of sleep for a while, whether that be from overworking a crop yield or what have you. My hypothesis as to why this is the case is that the creatures may be attracted to the scent of increased blood sugar levels in the islanders, something that can come as a result of not sleeping enough. Though the islanders have a legend that says it's the creatures coming to claim those who do not respect their earthly bodies enough to rest them properly. Regardless of the reason, when the colony is overworked and underrested, the skeletal Phantos comes out to scourge the nights. The islanders also claim that these creatures are undead phantoms, and while I personally doubt the legitimacy of this claim, I can certainly see how they've drawn that conclusion. These creatures seem to be breeds of amphipteres, those being dragons with wings but no arms or legs. But while much of the Phantos' bodies are covered in blue and tan skin, large sections of their tails seem to be exposed skeletons, and their rib cages appear on the outsides of their bodies, giving them a very undead look. I was unable to find a deceased one to examine it myself, so it is possible that what appears to be a skeleton is actually some form of external armored plating, but regardless, these creatures were an eerie sight to behold. On top of all that I've described so far, they also had glowing green eyes, which provided the main way for us to spot them in the night. Now that they've been spotted a few nights in a row in the area, the communities here are encouraging all of their residents to get a fuller night's sleep. While work does need to get done, that will be far easier to do if nights aren't being spent fending off skeletal beasts. Now, of all the drawings in this episode, this is the one that took the longest, but even it only took about 3 hours and 10 minutes or so, and a bunch of that just came down to me messing around with the position of the wings and the tail. There was just something a little bit off about it, and I think overall the pose is better than what I'd started with. It's still, a little bit iffy. I could have done something slightly more interesting with the wings, but that's pretty much my only complaint about this piece. Overall, I really do like how it looks. Although I guess another complaint could be, and I don't know how much is this just me nitpicking, but like with a few other drawings in this episode, you don't get that much of a sense of scale. Because he's kind of just floating in the air with some close and some distant mountains, it could really be any size. It could be massive or smaller. And because I made the head smaller than the Phantom's head is in the actual game, that makes this creature feel bigger. But I don't know, again, that's just me kind of nitpicking because I need something to talk about for the art portion of this. Overall, I'm really pleased with it. I was trying to make it not look too much like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, because when I looked at the original design of the Phantom, for some reason that was really spiraling around in my head. And I feel like you can definitely get some vibes of that design and how I shaped the head, but overall I don't think I made it too similar to Toothless. Quite pleased with how this one turned out, and I hope you all like it as well. Might have to do the Ender Dragon if I do another episode of this, but for now I'm very glad I decided to pick the Phantom. Here it is. Now, it's been a little while since I added anything to my online store. I think the last thing was the last ink bundle that I put up, but all of the drawings from this episode will be up as posters on my online store. They'll all be linked in the little bar beneath this video, along with lots of other stuff like shirts and other posters, and a whole bunch of ink bundles that you could get in color and stuff. But yeah, those will be linked below. Sorry for the interruption, back into the next two drawings. The next creature was one I witnessed all too often while exploring the islands. They seem to be the most common of the hostile beasts in the land, and even when you can't see one nearby, you often won't go a day without hearing one erupt in the distance. You see, the creeping bombardiers are four-legged green creatures whose main form of attack seems to be exploding, killing themselves and anyone who's gotten too close. Once again, the islanders have a legend about these creatures, that being that one of their deities, Notch the Almighty, had been trying to create a form of pig to live on the island, and had been distracted by ancient meddling miners trying to mine the mountain on which he was doing his work. In his distracted state, he created the creeping bombardier instead of the pig he was trying to make, and he imbued it with its explosive power to punish the miners who'd kept him from successfully doing his work. While it is rare to come across creatures who have some form of self-destructive ability as a defense mechanism, it's not wholly uncommon. For instance, the most obvious case is the female honeybee. When it stings someone in defending its home, it then dies immediately after. But a creature that stands at the same height as an average human, like these beasts, having this form of defense is fairly unusual. While these creatures may sound incredibly dangerous, the islanders are so used to them that they hardly seem to be a threat. When one is getting too close to a village or colony, they'll often go and get it and kill it, or force it to activate its explosive abilities while everyone is at a safe distance from it. They cause the biggest threat in the rare cases where one is struck by lightning. The lightning seems to supercharge their explosive capabilities, making them far harder to safely detonate. Once more, the islanders told me that there were other elemental breeds of these creatures, but on this first visit to the island, I was not able to see more. Though admittedly, I was not eager to see more of these creatures. I got more than enough time witnessing this breed on my time in the islands. Now, the other day my dad asked me, but lots of people have probably noticed by now I'm working from my parents' cottage for a few weeks. That's why the videos are in a different setting. But while here, my dad asked me what my favorite drawing I'd ever done was, and I couldn't really think of an answer at the time. I said maybe the SCP-999 drawing, but that one, the background is a graphic design background, which I really like doing, not a hand-drawn background. And I think now, overall, I might have to say that this is my favorite drawing I've ever done on the channel. Like, the design of the character is really simple, but I think fleshed out enough that it's interesting. The green of the ground and back going up, making a triangle with the green of the character, makes the composition work really well, and then there's enough space around his head, and the clouds that are sort of faded a bit work kind of like speed lines that bring us into the character and make it feel like there's a little bit of movement to it. I don't know, just everything about this piece came together so nicely, and I can't express how much I love that I can do a drawing that I like this much in 2 hours and 45 minutes. Because often I feel like I have to put tons and tons of work into a drawing to make it look great, but this one, I used most of my art know-how in 2 hours and 45 minutes to make this, which I'm super happy with. Anyway, I might be hyping this one up a little bit too much, but you can all decide what you think of it now too. Let's take a look at the finished result. The final creature I'm logging is one that I can still hardly believe I was able to witness. Not solely for its unusual biology, but also for the place I had to go to see it. The Islanders led me to a black gateway, inside which was a glowing purple energy. I'd only once seen something similar to this energy, that being the light produced by my friends Kayla and Charlie when they came to my world from another realm. The portal, once I stepped through it, led us to a musty, expansive cavern realm full of spilling pools of magma. The Islanders occasionally go down there to mine, but there is much to be wary about in that place. Most notably so were the ghastly pale flames. These creatures resemble massive jellyfish, but with more opaque skin. The one I witnessed for a brief time was about 6 times the size of a full-grown human and had stained flesh that looked almost as though it had spent much time crying. While the creatures are rather weak once attacked, they are particularly dangerous for their ability to float at a distance and spit bursts of flame at their prey. Though admittedly their flight capabilities are what intrigued me most, as there was no apparent reason for why they were able to fly. Like the soaring Saigon or the orbital Marvel, these creatures were able to sustain flight without the use of wings or other such appendages. I'd be curious to see if they could sustain flight in another environment. Maybe something about the place they live helps them stay airborne, but I doubted that any of the locals would be alright with me goading one of these creatures through the portal to observe them back above. We didn't spend long in this molten nether realm, and in general my time on the islands felt all too short, but I am certainly eager to visit again and log more of the fantastic and dangerous creatures that haunt the lands that these remarkable miners and crafters live on. Now this drawing, while I'm putting it at the end of the video, is actually the very first one I drew, and something you'll notice about how I did the environment in this one is I used a more textured brush, and it's actually more similar to how I did my drawings for the Kaiju Slayer episode, where I was first messing around with doing more fleshed out backgrounds and environments. The textured brushes can work well for making things look more rough and rugged, or depending on what you want to do with them and what kind of textured brush you're using, but I think for my art style, it just doesn't work quite as well. Maybe it would work better if I experiment with it more and flesh it out a little bit more, but in the other drawings I was using a more similar texturing process to what I do with my characters, and I think that makes for a more unified piece. Again, that's a small nitpick thing. I really like how this drawing turns out in general. The thing I thought about most when doing the background was how much to flesh out the area right behind the creature's head and body. Usually with other creatures, I'll leave the area right behind their head blank with sky or water or whatever, so we're not obstructing the silhouette of the focal point of the character. But with this one, because he's in a cave, there had to be some kind of rocks or environment behind him. So I just kind of made the area behind his head a little bit, slight vague rocky shapes, and then put a bit of a red aura around him to make sure he was really standing out from the environment. I think it ended up being a really good balance, and I'm really pleased with how this drawing turned out overall. And I hope you are all as well. Let's take a look at the finished result. I think this might be the best monster episode I've done on the channel. I really like how these turned out, and I am definitely down to do another round of this if people want it. This almost feels like when you guys finally got me to do an SCP video. Now the SCP Superhero series is one of my favorite series on this channel, so maybe this could turn into one of my other new favorite series on this channel. Who knows? Or give me ideas for other stuff you want to see me do with Minecraft mobs or characters in the future. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out other episodes like this. In this same universe, I've got all of my turning superheroes and characters into dragons episodes. The best one of those is probably the My Hero Academia Dragons episode, but I've also got Avengers and Avengers villains and X-Men and DC characters. It's got a whole playlist of dragon videos and lots of other beasts and monsters and creatures and stuff like that. But besides that, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been Popcross Studios, home of the Nerdy Start videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next episode on Monday, which may or may not be the return of Benny Shop, huh? I'll see you there. Goodbye.